Greetings, this is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central here in Kent, Ohio, with another evening of storytelling. Yes. So, we've got the second part of a story we started last night. We're going to finish up tonight. And we'll see what else we can jam into our fun-filled, scary story segment tonight. Now, first off, let me go ahead and invite you all, welcome y'all to our story night, and thank you for subscribing to our Black Facts, our Tubular Black Facts channel. Thank you very much for doing that. Secondly, let me go ahead and read our proverb or words of wisdom for the night, which go like this. Telling stories is an art of which anyone can be a part, and that is an original. And so that's all of that. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to read a poem from our book here. Let's see, I got a poetry anthology here. It's called Brown Sugar. Now, what might be in here? Oh, yeah, there's a lot of brown sugar in here. Okay, here we go here. Brown Sugar by Regina Cheney. The first time Grandma saw her, Lord, look at this child. Face as round as a carameled candy apple and just as tan. Natural hair a curling round her ears, strong shoulders, good sign, good sign. And them eyes as bright as the light of the Lord himself, look like a daddy. Shoot, child, look just like her mama. Come here, honey child, brown sugar, loving child. Marvel at the beauty of your blackness. And there we go, our poem for the night. Moving right along. We're going to go ahead and finish up our story, and then we're going to tell you a real scary story. One that you can really sink your teeth into, literally. So, let's see what we got here tonight. We're finishing off this first story, The Monkey's Paw. And I'm going to back up just a little bit here. The door closed. The young man rose to his knees and said, "Is this it, Father? Is this the miracle we have been waiting for so long? Can we wish for money? Can I come home and get well? Did you not hear your godfather? It's evil, pure, and simple." Said the pie man to my man. If we wish for a small amount of money, perhaps the evil will not be so great. The old man was frightened, but he saw what was in his child's eyes, the need to rest. He removed the paw from his pocket. Perhaps, he said, if we wish for a small amount of money, the evil will not be so great. I wish, the old man said, I wish for 200 pounds. He watched the paw, and it moved. And he threw it to the floor. The next morning, the young man once again went to work. Late in the evening, as the old woman prepared the tea, awaiting her son's arrival at home, there was a knock at the door. The old man said, "My son knocks." And he opened the door. Standing there was a finely dressed young man from town. He removed his hat and placed it beneath his arm. "Sir, I bring you news from the mill." "Yes," said the old man. Come in. Come in, my son. It's due at any time." "Sir, there's been an accident. It was your son. We tried to warn him. We watched him walk into the saw." "Well, he's dead?" "We couldn't stop him. We tried, but he's dead." The old man said, "No, no, no." And the old woman said, "My child?" The young man said, "We cannot be responsible for the accident, but we have taken up a small collection to help you bury him. Here are 200 pounds. The next day, there was a service and a burial. The old man and the old woman returned home. "My child," the woman said, "the paw has taken my child. Make it bring him back." The man said, "Do you know what you're asking? Do you not understand what happened to him?" "I understand," the woman said, "but there are 2 more wishes in the paw. It took my child away. Now make it bring him back from the grave." And the old man said, "I'm frightened, pure and simple." But he removed the paw from his pocket and he held it to the light and he said, "Bring my child back. Bring him back from the grave. Bring him back." And the paw moved and he threw it to the floor. They waited and they listened. And they waited and they listened. And then they waited a little more while they listened. Long past midnight, the candles burned low and then out. After a while, they heard squeak. The old woman turned to the old man and said, "That's the door. That's the door. He's come back." Squeak! "Open the door," she said. "Open the door." The old man said, "No, don't you understand? Don't you understand what you will see?" "Yes," she said, "I will see my child. That's what I'll see." And she stood up and walked over toward the door. But there were many locks on the door, for you see, there were many highwaymen upon these roads. She started to pull the locks one by one. As she lifted the last lock and reached for the doorknob, "No, no," the old man said. Suddenly he remembered he had one last wish. He fell to his knees, searching for the paw. The old woman grabbed the doorknob, and as she turned it, the old man found the paw, lifted it up into the air, and screamed, "Go away, go away, go back into the grave." The woman opened the door, but there was nobody. There was nobody there. But the gate at the end of the walk was moving, as if something had just passed through. I must warn you, if at any time you should place your hand deep, deep, deep into your pocket and feel something strange in there, throw it away. Just throw it away, because it might just be the monkey's paw. And that's the end of that. Yeah, you don't want to mess around with that monkey's paw because that's just a bit much. Now, I'm going to tell you a real scary story. Not one out of one of these books. This is one that I remember from my childhood myself. Now, the place that I grew up at, one of the places I grew up was St. Louis, Missouri. And in St. Louis, Missouri, every year the sixth graders went on a camping trip. And the year I was in the sixth grade, we went on a camping trip to Camp White Cloud. And at Camp White Cloud, we slept in cabins. So they had cabins on the grounds. Some of you may have been to a camp like this. Now, when we got to that camp, you know how boys can be. We were all, the boys were separated from the girls. You know how the boys can be. Sometimes they like to tease each other. They like to do a little hazing. They might want to initiate you into some secret society or something of that nature. And so for me, it was a scary time because I was away from home. We were way out in the woods, far away from civilization, and it was night. And I was sleeping on the bottom bunk of a bunk bed. There were 4 sets of bunk beds in that room. And I was sleeping on the bottom of one. Right? And I was near to the wall. But they're just twin size bunks. So my arm was long enough to reach the wall while I was kind of hanging over the edge of the bed. And some of the children, some of the other boys, they wanted to tell scary stories and try to scare the bejesus out of somebody. Make them jump up and run out the door. And they started talking about some man coming around with a bloody hand. And then they started talking about how he came up on some boys in the woods, a lot like us. He came upon their cabin. And the way that they knew that he was there is they heard on the side of the cabin wall. And it startled them when at first they heard it. But then they said, oh, it was nothing. And then they heard it again. But this time, when they heard it, it was not in the same place. It was further down the wall. And it startled them again. And they were a little bit afraid, but not too afraid. And then they heard it again. By now, it had moved around to the same wall that the front door was on. Now, if we hadn't been afraid before, we were by now. Because the way the story goes, the man kept a knocking all the way around the cabin of these boys. And when he got to the front door, he broke in on them and gobbled them up. That's right, he ate them. Now, as we were listening and trying our best not to be afraid or scared or show any signs of even thinking about being afraid, we heard another knock, even closer to the front door. But before that door could open, one of the other campers, not me, mind you, it wasn't me, one of the other campers jumped up out of his bunk bed, ran to that front door, and right outside into the bright light. Because there were lights outside around the campfire where we had been earlier. Now that, to me, was a scary story, because we never did find out who it was doing all that knocking. Now, I will admit that at first it was me. I was the one knocking on the side of the wall. But then the sound started moving, and it was no longer me. I don't know who it was. And then by the time the sound got to the door, there was nobody there on that wall. No bunk bed was on that wall. The bunk beds were on the other 3 walls. So when it got there and it kept knocking, it was more than suspicious. More than suspicious. So I'd have to say we had an encounter with some kind of haint out there in the woods of Missouri, out in the Ozark country, back in the day. So if you ever start to hear some knocking on a wall, in a room where you are, and it keeps on happening, and then it starts to move, you make sure to get up and run too. Run for your life. Run for your life. That may be the only thing that saves you, is being able to run for your life. Meanwhile, we're going on black to where we were. Boom shakalaka. We're going to put in a videotape for you to watch and listen. So let me see if I can find it here. Oh, wait a minute. Our time has already run out. Oops. Sorry about that. We'll have to save the video for another night. So in the meanwhile, we just want to say peace with justice, because anything less disgusting, please make sure to make your donation online at Tubular Black Facts channel, or just subscribe to the channel, either way. And then last but not least, all you little children need to take your little heads and lay them on your little pillows on your little bed. Close those your eyes while you wait on that sun to rise. And when you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, you'll know that it's time for you to rise and shine, oh children of mine. And let me just say good night to Red, saying good night to Red, and anybody else who's out there that didn't wave at us. We're saying good night to you too. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories, more scary stories, and more stories of a black homecoming. So check us out in the day for a black homecoming, and at night we'll be back here for more scary stories. Peace out.